What's up? What's up? What's up? Are we live? Can you hear me?
How you can see me.
All right, we're here. We're weird. We're ready for a beer. Maybe, some of us. Welcome, guys. It's good to be live again. And it's good to be alive still. And we are going to do a handful of things today. Not a super long live stream, but I think it will be super fun packed. I got 2 tracks from patrons to give feedback on, which I always enjoy. Such interesting music always coming in from the patrons. If you want to find out more about how you can do that yourself, patreon.com/Andrew Huang. We're going to listen to Crown, the new single I just put out a few days ago, and just take any questions that you may have about it. I might do a fuller track breakdown video of it because there's so much in it. I think it was close to 200 tracks, but we will... I don't know. Actually, it would be great to see what questions come in today that might inform what that video will be like and what you want a real deep dive on. And other questions are always welcome too. And yeah, I think that's what we're doing today. Let's take a look at our first track for feedback today. This is from Adrian Johnson, Fossil Glitch Proglodyte Excerpt. I need to know what the word proglodyte means. Let's give this a spin.
Oh, do you want to hear what he's looking for?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, if there's some comments, Ryan, let us know.
Okay, so track from Adrian Johnson. He's looking for feedback on transitions and mix primarily.
Transitions and mix.
And anything else that stands out. He wants to know what genre is this, and always just like, thanks for your feedback. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, chat. Let us know what genre this is, and also if you have feedback. Ooh, yeah. I'm always a fan of a good glitch and a good hocket. There's a nice little thing happening there with quick little sounds, panned. I like the bend in the pitch there, that like a bit of instability to the bass note. There is something a little bit canned feeling about the drums. Not sure exactly what, like maybe they just need a little more like a detail layer, like very soft filtered percussion or something. It could just be the sound selection. Could really like audition a few different things to find a vibe and something that like really fits the atmosphere. There's a new snare in now. It's giving me a little bit of 9 Inch Nails' The Fragile, which is a really cool album. It has a lot of this kind of like instrumental, synth and piano, kind of dark, slow-moving, but beat-driven stuff. I do think like a lot of the parts feel a bit meandering, or maybe I haven't caught like what the loop is, but I feel like there could be a little more of a defining thing that anchors it. Not that like floating and meandering is bad, but maybe if there's something to like return to, then it will feel like, it's just got like a heart to it. Because right now I feel like, where are we going? Have we gone anywhere? Or are we just kind of hanging out? Okay, a little contrast here. Yeah, I think like transitionally, I'm not hearing a huge amount happening. I think that there could be more building and more kind of like signaling that change and new sections and whatnot will happen. Here we have like a little swell, but it's like not particularly dramatic. And I think even in a softer and more like slowly evolving piece, you could still have more ebbs and flows and more of that kind of transitional energy. And then I think too, it's not clear which instrument is the lead most of the time. So I think being able to define for yourself what you want to spotlight at any given moment. Sometimes it feels like it's the bass, sometimes it feels like it's the cool little like synth hits, and sometimes it feels like it's the piano. But there's never one thing where you're like, oh, that's the focal point. So it doesn't feel quite like this is gonna be for focused listening. It feels very background for the moment. Beautiful synth sounds though. I would say possibly mix-wise you can make more room for individual things. Again, a little bit going to that idea of a lead. That whatever you decide that is, that should stand out more. Other things could be filtered a bit down, turned a bit down, reverbed a bit more. And yeah, I think there's a little bit of clashing just from like there being a lot of instruments and a lot of them feeling like they're at a similar place all around, similar distance to me, similar level, and in many cases, because they are quite frequency dense sounds, they're like overlapping a lot. You know, you've got piano, you've got pads, you've got a bass sound that has a fair amount of mid and high in it. So yeah, just thinking about like which of those frequencies are the most necessary, or if any sounds there could be, or any roles that those sounds are playing could be served better by other sounds, or if it's just a spatial and distance issue, you know. Yeah, that's a interesting track. I think it again, I always say this every time I give feedback, depends where you want to go with it. Meandering is not bad, background music is not bad, so it depends on if your goal is to create something with like a stronger journey, or if this is meant to be more background or incidental. But yeah, nice work, keep it up. And I know we hear from you a lot, so I'm excited for the next track too. I know it's not gonna be the last one here. We also have another repeat feedback patron, Philip Torvik, with a track called Happy Heartache Master. Oh wait, also, did we ever learn what troglodyte means?
So
should I just quickly Goog? Did it? I'm curious.
So I think I was seeing in the chat there was like
Oh.
troglodyte. It was like someone who like lives in a cave or something, and then
Okay.
like it's a play on of like Prague.
Ah, nice.
Prague troglodyte. I don't know. Yeah.
Love Prague. Okay.
You want to hear?
Yeah. What did Philip have to say about his track?
Yeah. Let's take a look at Philip Torvik. Okay, so this is a single called Happy Heartache that he put on platforms a couple years back. They would love feedback on the sound and structure. They also get stuck as someone who works full-time in music as a producer, session musician, etc., on how to put time, creativity, and effort into his own artistry. It feels like the last thing I have the capacity for after working on other music, but also the thing I want to be doing the most. Any tips on how you would build that up while doing other music work would be great.
I'm right there with you right now, honestly. I feel like, things ebb and flow in this career. And I have had different times where it's like, oh, I can really focus on my art and what's most meaningful to me. And then there are other times where, and this is not a bad thing, but things get so busy. There's like commissions that come in, or, whatever it is that you're working on that you need to do to survive, but that can take you away from, what you truly feel called to make. And, this is not going to be a groundbreaking answer or anything, but it always comes back to carving out time and prioritizing it and putting it in your schedule. And, you know, there are times where it can't be that much in your schedule, but always try to get something in there, I would say, like on a weekly basis, you know, if it can be like a couple of hours even, and putting them, I think, to earlier in the day, I feel works for me. It's just like when I'm the freshest, when I am, you know, I have more willpower to like keep the distractions away and not get pulled into the other stuff. Actually, there is something I heard recently that has helped me a little bit in terms of just motivation and framing this situation that, you know, a lot of working artists will find themselves in. But if you were working with an artist who wasn't able to pay you, but you really loved them and their work, you would prioritize them, right? You would make sure that you could fit them in. And we got to treat ourselves the same way. So I hope that helps. But yeah, let's listen to this track, which is not called Happy Heartache Master. It's just called Happy Heartache. But we are listening to the master, so.
Show me the way to go. I've never been down this road. Whiplash, you broke my neck. I'll act like I always knew we'd fall apart.
I like this melody.
That's good.
While your next words stop my heart.
Yeah, it's like great spatially. Ooh, that's a surprise.
Oh man.
Ooh. Man, sounds great. I would maybe say vocal is like just a touch forward. It's very preferential, you know. But I guess the reason I say that is because I feel like the instrumental is slightly lacking in power. So maybe it's, you know, that's the first thing my ear is going to, is like the vocal could be lower, but maybe it's about, you know, the punchiness or the EQ of the drums or whatever, but yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, melodically super strong. Like your vocal melody, this guitar solo, like really interesting shapes. Great leaps in the note movement. You could repeat this chorus again. I'm seeing the waveform is just gonna go away right there. Yeah, that could totally have been a double chorus at the end. Really catchy. I really only have two broad pieces of feedback about this. Like it's such a great kind of pop rock tune. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the lyrics, so I will leave that unaddressed. They're probably good. The stuff that was jumping out to me was, I felt like second chorus to the end, there's not a lot of dynamic variation. And maybe, you know, if you were going to kind of do this over or whatever, the bridge, which was just a guitar solo, I believe, that could drop down a bit. Or if it elevates a bit, then maybe the chorus coming back is like lower. And then your repeat chorus is bigger if you do a repeat chorus. Possibly also, this song feels like it could have used a vocal bridge as well. Like there's yearning quality to it that feels like it's got emotional depth and complexity. And I feel like when that's the case, a bridge can do so much to kind of like make a song more memorable, make a song like feel like it has even more of that depth, provide an additional perspective. So that's something that I would consider thinking about. It could be like a before the solo bridge, after the solo bridge, something like I hear it as being a much softer thing, maybe going back to like the dynamics of your intro. And also I did want to call out how cool it was to have that like really stark intro and then just like everything comes in.
That's nice.
That's great. And then, yeah, the other thing that I wanted to say was just that the drums felt, I mean, I said this about the first track too, but a little bit canned, a little bit like I could hear the drum programming or whatever, or that it felt a little stock. Not entirely, but just like the overall vibe of it. I think that maybe if you're able to get like more, live fills in there or work with, I'm assuming they sounded programmed, like work with maybe loops instead of programming if you're able to, or if you're not able to work with a session player. That could help it, just giving it that, greater sense of dynamics and aliveness. But yeah, it felt very kind of mechanical. So I think in part it's what the drums were playing, and in part it was the sound, and that's a taste thing. Like I definitely, when I hear that kind of like kick drum, I think that it takes me out of it, because when you have a kick drum with that much treble, with that much kind of like the sound of the beater, it exposes the lack of dynamics. If you're not doing a lot of velocity, or if you don't have like a very like sample dense library that it's playing. So I think that could help it dynamically if you found the right drum sounds and perhaps like played with how they were performed. But yeah, ultimately, like really, really nice track, really well put together. The melodic writing, as I said, I really appreciate, and it's structured really, really well. It flows. Felt like the transitions were good, whether you were like building or surprising us. So yeah, awesome work. And your voice just sounds great. If that's you singing or if you were collaborating with someone, I don't know, but
yeah. Torvik actually is in the chat.
Nice.
He's saying that they were actually live drums, but they had a sample replace the kick and snare.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was that sampleness of it that sort of made me feel like, I don't know if it's quite fits with like how it's not that it's like a live sounding song, like as if it's being played in a concert or something, but the other instruments all had a kind of deeper quality to them, I guess. And being that it is like a more emotional song, I felt like that, I guess those drum samples stood out to me. Yeah.
I also just want to shout out, like, oh man, I love that song. It's great. And I don't know, Torvik, you should check out Fly By Midnight if you don't know them already. Like, I could totally see you, like, this track, like, on their album, or, like, you open for something like them. Yeah. It's a great band.
Yeah, nice. Keep up the good work, though. Love that. So what I wanted to do today was a little celebration listening party for Crown, my single that just came out on Friday, because honestly, this is just something that I want to do now, little listening parties when I release stuff. I was realizing, I put out music whenever I can, and it feels so different than putting out a video. And I was realizing, on a video, I get so much feedback, and I feel like I'm connected to my audience. When I put out a song, I'll like post about it, and some people will let me know what they think. But often I put out a song, and then it's just on a streaming service. And occasionally I look at the number of streams, and it's such a like dead experience compared to the kind of community that I feel like is so cool about YouTube. So yeah, and I stopped playing live, and that's just not part of what I do for all kinds of reasons. But so I'm not having like concerts and meeting people the way I used to. So all that to say, we'll probably do listening parties for new releases. And is there something coming in?
Yeah, just shout out to Simon Tobias. Thank you for the $1.
Oh, hey,
appreciate you. Donation.
Yeah.
He's just greetings from the USA. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We love the USA. It's a little crazy down there, but for real, you guys, like, I believe in you, and I don't know. I hope things get sorted out, but yeah. Far beyond the scope of my live stream.
Let's take a listen.
Yeah. We'll take a listen to Crown, and I'm really interested to know your thoughts on it. Any like questions you have about it, I'm totally happy to share about anything about it, writing, production, yada yada. But we'll check it out.
Meant to, I made to. I gave you my only life.
Check out some comments.
Found you, I loved you. I tried to do everything right. Now there's smoke in every mirror. So decays and starlight withers. Blood runs thick in every river. Oh. Without you,
Yeah.
Love it. I have been working on this song for literally over 10 years, might be closer to 15, on and off. Like I would go through, there would be years that I would just not touch it, but it really evolved so much over time. And I don't know if there's been another song that's had that long of a journey for me. So it's really nice that it's out, and I'm also so happy with how it turned out. But saw some great questions come in. Would love to fill you guys in on these cool things you're asking about. So also the first one from Olympia Noisco. If you guys don't know, Olympia makes really cool iOS apps. Check them out. Great to see you here. Was this the track with the Love Holton effects box? Yeah, if you guys check my most recent video with...
It's right there.
It's right here. The thing that... I was informed that love is not actually how you pronounce it. It's not the word love. It's like a Swedish name. So I don't know how to say it, but I'll just say Love Holton. And it's on top of a cable. Here we go. So, my last long-form YouTube video is about this Wild Effects unit, which is just 5 guitar pedals that I fell in love with how they work together. And then we added a ferrofluid visualizer, we added a little kill switch, and rehoused everything, replaced all the stomp switches with keyboard keys for like quicker action. And it's been really fun to mess with and really inspiring. And this song started much, much earlier than when I had this box, but what I used it for and what it helped a lot with was I resampled huge chunks of the song before it was, that far along. Well, I guess it was far enough along that I had vocals in there. So yeah, not too bad, but it still developed so much more after that. But I was running the track, just playing it out of Ableton into this effects box and creating all these like weird glitches and textures and all of that I pulled back into the song in different ways, and I feel like it gives it a lot of just uniqueness and texture and like interesting stuff. There's a lot of transitional stuff that was made by taking chunks of those recordings and like automating things on them. There's some parts where, this is just such a part of my process now where I just record a bunch of stuff that sounds interesting to me and I'm not sure exactly how I'll use it in the track. And then like 15% of it, I will just drop in and try out places and find that, oh, this is like really cool actually. And I it's something that I feel much more comfortable with doing now than I used to, because I used to kind of, I grew up classically trained and I would think that you have to like compose everything. And when it comes to music production, like it's often so much better to just like chase the happy accidents. And so rather than thinking like, oh, I need to come up with a specific part or concept or idea and like write it and like figure it out and play it in, it's like you collect all these different possibilities and then you're like, okay, well, functionally here, this section feels a bit empty. I think something sustained needs to happen. And then you search through this like sound soup that you made and you find a part where like the stuff that you were making was like sort of pad-like and soft, and you drop it in and you maybe like nudge it around a bit, but you're like, oh, this is really cool. And it has this interesting characteristic to it because you didn't go reach for a synth and play a pad and hold the pad and then you just have this like one long chord. You have something that like came out of a weird process and it's wasn't planned for this section necessarily, so it doesn't fit exactly, maybe timing wise or pitch wise even or whatever, but you find ways to massage it and make it work, and that all shapes how the song sounds in a much more unique way, I think. But long answer to the question, the Love Holton glitch box played a big role in this song.
Have you figured out your own name for it besides just calling it the Love Holton?
You know what? I've had this for a long time now. The video and this song took so long to come together that this has actually been in my life for so long, and the name that I gave it in the video, Refractor, has just kind of like stuck around in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's what it is to me. But yeah, it's I'm also like I'd be interested to know what you think about this, guys, because I love the idea of naming instruments or naming gear. I find that such a fun concept, and it's like so unique and personal for everybody. But I also like just don't actually do it very often or use the names. Like since I was 14 and got my first electric guitar, I was like, oh, this guitar needs to have a name and it's going to be special to me. And I never settled on one, and I don't call it anything, and it's just the white guitar. So I don't know. It's a fun idea. 9-Volt had a question about the sound in the intro. Yeah. I assume you have to be referring to the monster breath, as I call it. Yeah. So that was, I actually don't even remember the original. I experimented a lot with like my own breathing and my, like basically actually how this came about was this song's in 7/4, and in the intro it felt completely untethered, and there was no way you could tell it was in 7/4 unless you were like counting and then listening for where the chord change happened and then like retroactively deciding. So I was like, I need something where I can signal more clearly that it's 7/4 because the beat isn't like super regular. There are like downbeat kick drums, but like that's pretty much it. So all the, you know, the chord instruments are not repeating in a very clear way or anything like that. So I came up with the idea that I just wanted on the last 2 beats of each bar, or every other bar, can't exactly remember. I just wanted these 2 strong accents, and I tried different things. I can't even remember all the things that I tried, but eventually what I settled on was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if it was like a breath or a roar. And I think I tried my own breathing. I think I eventually found a sample of like monster
That's what it was.
breaths. Yeah. Okay. So it was probably like something someone made for a video game, and then I processed it, pitch shifted it, all that. And then I also did, I used the plugin Combobulator, which I think 2 years ago was featured in my top 10 plugins of the year, but it is basically AI trained on various artists, all with their permission and they're being compensated. But it basically like trains on their sound, and then whatever you feed through it, you can like use this weird set of parameters to kind of like find different ways that it reinterprets that audio through a particular artist's sound design style. So it leads to really strange, unpredictable results. And also, you know, like not every producer has made a song with a monster sound in it. So if you put a monster sound through this thing, like how is it going to interpret it and what is it going to become? So it kind of became an even more monstery, noisy monster. And so I just tried a few different resamples of that and got, so what you hear first, that's the original sample with some processing by me. And then the next time, that's that run through Combobulator, and I just did, I don't know, probably like 10 or 15 different tries and picked the best sounding one, and then so those 2 alternate throughout that section, and then they come back later again in the bridge. But yeah, really fun sound.
I just think those monster sounds are just so aggressive.
Yeah,
like right off the start.
yeah. And it fits too because the theme of the song is like writing about someone in a position of power who you maybe used to think was worthy of your love or respect, or maybe even, you know, you worship them or were close to them. I had a couple different things in mind as I was writing this, but it's about that dynamic where you realize that maybe someone who you thought was powerful in a benevolent way is actually maybe problematic, toxic, abusive, who knows what, but definitely a bit of a dark angle, and it felt like the monster sound fit. What do we want to talk about next? I guess let's talk about another sound that a couple of people called out, the chant in the
I love
bridge.
that. I remember when I heard it for the first time, I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, that sounds freaking like
Nice.
I was like, it kind of reminded me of the K-pop Demon Hunters thing.
Yeah, true.
I remember hearing that like as you were working on it. I was like, oh, okay.
So what's funny is I've actually used this exact same chant sample before.
Okay.
It was in Aeon 2, which is a track from my Space Time album. So I guess that was 2021. And it was something, I was doing like a really cinematic track, and it's got this like great vibe. So when I was almost actually done this track, this was like the last thing I added sound-wise, I think. And I thought I was like pretty much done, but I knew the bridge was like a little sparse, and I was like, oh, maybe it's fine. And then I played it for my wife for the first time, and it was her idea. Mm-hmm. She was like, what if you added like a chanting thing there, just to like, because she got the theme of like, okay, it's a person who's very powerful, maybe has a lot of followers or a lot of control over people, and she felt like that would be a cool addition to this bridge, and I was like, yes, I have to try that. So I started looking all around for like I did so much research on sample libraries and plugins, and I was like trying to find a way where because also I had already planned for this song and video to come out, and I thought it was done, and then I was like, oh damn it, Essa, that's like a really good idea and I have to do it. And it was like, I thought I was almost done mixing this song. So I was on a time limit, and then eventually I was like, you know what? I've used a chant sample before, and I know it's royalty free, and I think it'll work. And when I went back to find it, it was like a little more whispery. And so I'll definitely do a fuller breakdown of this and show you everything in Ableton. But it's actually like a very whispered chant. And what I had to do was like run it through distortion and room reverbs to create this sense. I'll play it for you. You can hear it starting to fade in the back. The original sample sounds like it's only maybe like 5 or 10 voices, and I feel like I managed to get it to a place where it feels more like a hall of people, and where they're like doing a little more than whispering, I hope. But yeah, that was through a lot of like short reflections and distortion. And I'm also like, this isn't to do with how I made it sound like a lot of people, but you can hear I'm like filtering up the EQ as it goes on. So yeah, another interesting sound in the track. Let's talk about ETBCOR had a question, or no, I think just had a comment about the timpani, which I'm so glad you called that out. I rented a timpani just for this song. I think I played it a bunch, but in terms of like what actually gets played in the song, I think it gets hit like 5 times. Yeah. And I love what it adds to the song. Actually, at first, after I recorded it, I thought it didn't fit. I was like, oh well, I'm glad I tried this, but that's like $200 down the drain. But then I figured out how to make it work, I guess. I don't know what it was at first. It just, maybe it was too jarring. I remember you listened to some of those early mixes and you're like, yeah, that timpani's cool, but it really like comes out of nowhere or something.
Yeah, there was like so many different mix revisions we had to go through to like get that timpani to sit.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was, it's one of those things where it's just like, that's the thing about mixing is like, and that's why mixing is not easy, you know. It's not like it's just a set of rules. It's like, well, where does it sit? But also what else is happening? But also what else leads into it? And like what needs to make room for it? But how do you still glue it? Yada, yada, yada. So it's just like that type of problem solving, sometimes to the extreme. But I'm glad you appreciate that sound, because I feel like, you know, there's a point where I was like, oh, maybe I just need to take it out of the song. But once I figured out how to make it work, I'm so glad that I kept it in. Another question, nice, simple question. Johnson Studio asked about the mastering. I've been using the same stuff for mastering for years and years and years. It's the UAD Precision Maximizer, just a maximizer that I started using early on and always liked the sound of, and I've stuck with. I use, on the very end of the chain, FabFilter Pro L2 for limiting. In between, I'll have an EQ almost doesn't matter which one really. It might be just Ableton, it might be FabFilter, it might be one of the Universal Audio ones, because I used to, like, just back in the day, that was my default. I used all of their mastering suite, the Precision series. But really, I do so little EQ on the master, because if I'm mastering my own stuff, I can fix anything that's needed in the mix. So I might do a little, like, gentle smiley face, might put the UA Pultec on there to do that, because it has, you know, some kind of little, like, hint of tube flavor or whatever, rather than just being a parametric EQ. But yeah, a little bump to the highs, little bump to the lows usually. And then the only like big difference that's happened over many years is I added Crafter. Since that came out, that's been in my master chain right before the limiter, because if you can clip things in a way that sounds nice, then your limiter doesn't have to do as much work. And yeah, so that's been it. Every once in a while, if some song calls for something in particular, I'll throw like something extra on the mastering chain. But that's probably for like more experimental stuff. You know, I'll like have OTT at 9% and then automate it up for a transition, or like little, you know, whatever I come up with for what the song needs. But otherwise, the mastering chain is pretty standard and has been for a long time.
There's more. I got some questions here.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So, because of latency, they came in later, but there was quite a few comments asking about the vocal processing towards the end of the track.
Oh, yeah.
Like the growly whispers
let's play that, the vocoder.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go. So you hear it here doing little like echoing out stabs. Those are just like pieces of my vocal that I put in and let Evoke do its thing on. Minimal Audio Evoke is the plugin doing the heavy lifting. And we could talk about that whisper scream thing too. So, yeah, two different vocals there, basically. You got the vocoder thing, you've got the screamy whisper thing, and I think, well, the screamy whisper thing is easy, because it's just a few layers of me at different intensities. I think some are whispered and some are more spoken maybe, but they're all just like distorted and, you know, heavily compressed, and the layering kind of adds to that dense, noisy quality. But yeah, it's a pretty fun thing. It's interesting if you mix it right. A whisper can have some of the qualities of a scream. It has, like, you know, paradoxically, this like real intensity to it that I find emotionally compelling. And then the vocoder is the Minimal Audio Evoke plugin, which was one of my plugins of the year for 2025. Just a really great vocal resynthesis plugin. So it's not even a vocoder in the traditional sense. It's you know, taking your incoming audio and like rebuilding it through various algorithms. And yeah, it just sounds so great, and it's really versatile as far as that type of plugin goes. Like there are a couple I've come across where it's like makes it sound like a classic talk box or whatever. For Evoke, it's like there's so many different flavors to explore there, and so much control they give you over it. There's built-in modulation, all that. So with that, it's very layered. I have I sung that part as a lead vocal and a harmony vocal. I put a completely different preset on the lead vocal than the harmony vocal, so there's Evoke on both of them. Within those two presets, there are also different layers of processing, because one has like an added bass voice, one has harmonization on my harmony, one of them has a delay. There's like various effects built into it too. There's more than just a delay. I think there's like compression in chorus and whatnot. But yeah, that's basically that was the approach, is like process my lead and my harmony with different instances of this vocal transformation plugin, and just like find different combinations of presets that were cool and tweak them as needed. And just really brought home what I wanted to do at the end of that track. There's different vocals that I tried out. It was originally just going to be sung. It was going to be sung like more intense than I had sung the previous choruses. There was like a counterpoint line that I added in, and ultimately I just like took all that away and made it the vocoder thing. But Minimal Audio Evoke. This will just be like a big shout out to them because it's such a cool plugin. I want to do like full albums where all my singing goes through just that, because it's got so many cool possibilities. Korik had a question about how I approached the instruments, and I thought that would be a cool thing to talk about because this song evolved so much, and in a way it's not that different from how I usually work, which is like very exploratory and like trying things out and trying to combine things that don't usually go together and being led by what I feel like the song needs. But this started with like some of this modular glitchy stuff. Actually, I shouldn't say it was modular because I mean it was done with like that style of synthesis, very like generative and modulation forward. But this was made before I got into hardware modular. I did it in Reactor, which actually, I mean, Reactor is modular, but I was using like different things that I downloaded from the user library and just like messing around with other users' creations, and found this cool like set of textures and things that I made a beat with. And I thought this was just gonna be like some weird IDM track. You know, I was and am very into Autechre, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to just like take it in that direction, make it very cold and slowly evolving and really about texture. And then at the same time, for whatever reason, I was experimenting with the Ableton Resonators device and just making chords out of that, and I kind of mashed these two ideas together. And so then I had chords with these glitchy beats, and then I just kind of started singing over them. And then when I found a melody I liked, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is actually a song, and that could be interesting because you don't hear that much combination of this kind of like glitchy IDM texture with vocals, at least not when it's so like non-repeating and very forward in the mix. So that was sort of my approach. I thought this was like an IDM pop combo, and it's interesting because like as I've played it for people, the more common response is that it feels like it comes from industrial rock. But I mean, many roads can lead to the same place. I think that from there, it was really like, it was so much trial and error. It was like different synths. Actually, it was almost all synths. Yeah. Different synths, like different drum samples. And then the timpani was probably the only thing I added other than my voice that was recorded acoustically. But yeah, you know, I was just trying like, is a pad going to work? Is it lead lines? Is it, you know, ear candy? Is it more texture? Lots of different things. And I think, you know, what stayed on there was just like a variety of things that supported what the song became, but it was a very overlapping process. It was like a bit of sound design, a bit of like figuring out the structure, a bit of figuring out what the chord progression should be, a lot of editing down. Like originally this was like an 8-minute song, and I ended up eventually cutting that in half based on like what felt like was happening with the verses and choruses and whatnot. Because originally it was very experimental, and it still kind of is, but now it does have like loosely a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus structure, even though each of those sections has quite different production. But so it was just really like feeling things out and seeing what the song might need or not. Probably one of the songs where I've done the most amount of like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, failed experiments. Like everything you try and a song leads you to another idea. But the one where I cut the most things that I actually like put a lot of time into. Actually, I asked Ryan to like edit and comp
Oh my
all
gosh.
of these. There was like 14 tracks of harmonies on a vocal part I did in the bridge. And then I was just like, no, it doesn't work. I don't think I want it in the song.
It was neat.
It was
yeah,
fun. Yeah, it was cool. And I'm gonna share it on my Patreon. Actually, I'm gonna do a whole post about all the stuff that I cut from Crown, because I think that's an interesting thing to see and not something that people often share. I think that could be a cool thing to do. Yeah, probably in about 2 weeks. I think that post will be ready. I'm kind of collecting all the different audio bits that didn't make it into the song and what I want to say about them. Yeah. Any other questions about the song?
The song?
Or in general, we could also broaden it out.
Yeah. There's a question... Yeah, no more about the song, per se. The question came in from Tom the Ginger Kid, saying, how do you deal with stress of an imposing deadline?
I would say I like a deadline, and I think the stress doesn't strictly come from the deadline so much as whether or not you're prepared to meet it. And so I feel like the more experience that I've gotten, the less stressed that I've been, because I know my capabilities more. I know which things are going to require like a lot more time, and I can plan for that better. And I know which things like I can pretty reliably just like do no problem any day. And earlier on, for sure, that is much more of a mystery, as you just haven't worked as much, or, haven't worked in certain situations. So I think, it's always about preparedness and like giving yourself as much buffer as possible. Buffer is the magic, really, like, and I'm still, working on this for myself, but knowing that almost everything that you want to do is going to take more time than you think it's going to take, and just making that, part of the plan and part of the calendar, the blocking off the buffers. Hope that helps. Any other stuff we can get into?
Have you tried Battalion drum synth? It can get very glitchy.
Ooh, I've heard good things about
Glitchy.
Battalion. I need to get into it, and I believe that's unfiltered audio. I love everything that they make. Yeah, I think that came highly recommended from Undulé, and since then I've been like, oh yeah, I gotta try it out, and I just haven't had time. But yeah,
I'm the same way. I always see it come up on my feed. And I just like, I have to wait for the next sale. I just want to make sure I get that in.
It looks dope.
How do you emotionally approach composition?
Emotionally approach composition. Interesting. I feel like this is a question that could be answered in so many ways and mean so many different things, but I'll give it a shot. I think that I think that maybe there is a sense from a lot of people that when you put music together, you may have a feeling and an idea of how you want to communicate that feeling, and you're trying to work on that communication. And sometimes that's what it is, for sure. But I feel like, for me at least, what happens as much, if not more, is that I am fluent in a lot of ways of making music and expressing myself through music. So what comes out is tied to my emotional state, whether I'm thinking of it or not. If I'm trying to, just create from what I'm feeling, because definitely, as a professional who gets hired for stuff, you can also just like turn it on and be like, oh, we need a banger, or we need a ballad, or we need whatever. And you understand how music can emotionally function in those kinds of ways. But if I'm just creating because like I'm doing my art and I'm seeing what is compelling to me, it's coming from a layer beneath thinking about what the emotion is. It's not intentional in the sense of like, I'm sad and I'm going to write something sad. It's just like whatever I'm going through, or a piece of what I'm going through, or a thing that I'm remembering, may come out in the way that I express myself on an instrument, or what I'm exploring sound wise, or the words that I am trying to find. So yeah, I hope that makes sense and is a suitable answer for what you were asking. What else do we have?
I like the question here from Nintendo Rock. What percentage of your projects see the light of day versus projects that went unfinished, unpublished?
Ooh, yeah. I love this question because for so many reasons, I'm the kind of person who would really love to get every project to the finish line. Like, I just think almost every idea is so cool or fun or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, let's do all the things. And I've had to realize that it's just not possible, and that's a good thing, because it would suck to run out of things to do so much more than it sucks that you can't do all the things you want to do. So something that I'm always happy to share with the people who are going through this is that you will always have so much more unfinished stuff than finished stuff. And that's not a bad thing, and it's how it is for everybody I've talked to. And that's just the nature of being a creative, you're inspired by so much more than you can channel and then you have time to polish. By nature, ideas are faster than editing, than promoting, all these things that happen as part of getting a project out into the world. So, I just want to say that. Be very, very okay with the fact that most of what you do won't see the light of day, and use it maybe as fuel to focus on the stuff that you feel is the most important. But yeah, to answer the direct part of that question, I don't even know. Is it like 10% of things see the light of day? Yeah. I guess it also depends on how you measure it, because I have hundreds and hundreds of Ableton projects, but some of them are just like one loop. And some of them are like a song that's 80% done that I also won't finish. And then there's all the phone memos, and then, there's just like ideas scattered everywhere, documents of lyrics, all kinds of stuff. So it's hard to say exactly, but I mean, you can look at, like, I think in my most productive years, I would manage to get like 80 songs out the door. And that's when I was like childless and had already established myself enough that I could turn down work opportunities and focus on my own thing for periods of time. And yeah, it's all over the place. But yeah, so little comes out compared to all the things that you try and all the things that you hold on to. And it's not a bad thing. What else can we talk about?
Torvik asks, are there any advances in music technology outside of AI that you're personally excited about?
Oh man, yeah. Let's talk about anything other than AI. What am I excited about? I mean, we have been in a really golden era for so many things, with just like accessibility to tech and like analog becoming more affordable, and computers just being like so fast now and able to handle so much. Yeah, I feel like right now, because AI is like absorbing all of the excitement and focus and whatnot, it's maybe like becoming a much bigger lane than a lot of us care to see. Yeah. And I would say, based on like what I'm seeing from like the gear that I get to preview, the plugins that get sent in, it is maybe, AI aside, like a less innovative time for this particular, couple of years, let's say. Which is also honestly in part like a market thing, because there was this big boom in COVID where like so many people had more time to give to music, and so companies did a lot better, and that allowed them to like take more risks and all that stuff. So it might also be the effect of that. But yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer of like a specific thing that's exciting me about where technology is going right now. I feel like it's great that stuff is continuing to be more accessible and you know, works better and faster. And like, I mean, back in the day, you were always checking out specs of like, is this like 16-bit or 24-bit or whatever? And like, those days are just gone. Like, almost everything that's done half decently just sounds good, and you're entirely concerned about the workflow and the creativity that it offers you. So yeah,
I to piggyback on that question, I think what excites me the most that I want to see more of is just generally more like motion tracking sort of stuff. Like,
interesting.
Like
Cool.
wearable technologies. I think.
Yeah,
those are cool.
yeah.
Yeah, like there's like the Mimu gloves. Those are still going on. Genki wavering.
Yeah.
Wireless MIDI.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I just the other day, my buddy came over and he had a Eurorack module that was connected to a Wii Fit board.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, you know, that wasn't going to be that interesting for me. I'm like, it's just another way to like generate a modulation signal. But it is a different experience when you're standing on this thing and you can put weight in different areas, and that, you know, generates signals that you use for modulation. So yeah, I mean, Eurorack, it's maybe not quite as explosive as it was a few years ago, but definitely Eurorack is a place where just random ideas like that are happening, and that's cool, and I'm always, you know, excited about that. But yeah, maybe, you know, some things that are happening now, here's the one concrete answer I definitely feel like I can give is like, people are focusing on cool workflow improvements that used to be less important maybe, or just not as focused on, but like something like this, you know, roto control.
True.
That is a MIDI controller with motorized knobs. It remembers, it stores the mappings that you make internally. So if I use Ableton on my computer and set up a mapping, I can now just plug this into my laptop and I don't have to set it up again, like that kind of stuff. Then there are just things like, I don't know, like the Lewitt microphone that came out a couple years ago that has a mute button on it. Great. Like, why did that only exist on cheap karaoke mics before? It can also track your distance to the mic and make adjustments to volume and tone based on that. So there's stuff happening right now. Oh, I was just finishing a reel about this, again, a Eurorack module, this Arcarion synth voice, which has really smart randomization features and like a good preset system that I haven't exactly seen before. So like, I feel like we're in a period where, you know, as far as what I'm seeing, we're refining a lot. And maybe it's not so much like, oh, this is game changing or whatever. But there's stuff where now that we have all these established, you know, paradigms and categories and things, people are finding ways to like really make smart improvements on them and just make our lives easier as we're actually working. Yeah,
I mean,
let's take a look at a couple more questions, then I might have to get going.
Yeah. What's a good question here? Is there any path through the music industry as an artist producer that doesn't involve social media?
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Social media. Social media.
What a fun topic.
You know what? I think it depends on what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't think it has to be part of every career. And, you know, there's still roles in mixing and sound design and composition where, you know, you don't necessarily have to have this like constant presence, or in some cases any presence. But I think in those cases, you then are kind of like at the whim of your employer or whatever. Like you work at a studio, your job is there. Their job is marketing themselves however they need to, which almost definitely is going to include social media, but you can just show up and do the engineering or the mixing or whatever. I think there's plenty of roles like that. I think like the unfortunate reality is that social media is completely eating the world, and the just needing to be where people are is so important for how so many businesses and jobs need to happen, and where people are is on their phones. And that's like the unfortunate reality, but I don't know, it is reality.
I do want to add though, like on that answer, like I think mostly just for social media, it's just for like online presence and just to give yourself exposure and leverage, right? But I guess you technically, if you just want to be like behind, like not in the forefront in front of a camera or anything, you could just be doing studio work. There's like, or you could just be doing sync as well, like
it's fair. I think it's challenging, if you want to be an artist. I feel like it'll be really difficult to imagine a career where social media is not a part of that,
you're right.
because
As an
that's
artist,
so much about visibility.
You're right.
I've tried to think of like the parallels from earlier music industry paradigms where, like, to me, social media in part is the new version of touring, right? Like if you previously wanted to make it as a musician, you really had to play a lot. You had to take every opportunity to find new fans and potentially people that you could work with, people who would sign you or whatever. And there are a few examples of artists who made it in that era who didn't have to play live, but it was just so rare. And so I don't know, maybe there's a version of that now where there's like an artist that makes it work enigmatically or through some like non-social media platform, or who can somehow like still make it happen offline. I'm really not sure.
As an artist, that makes more sense. But I will say, for anyone who does feel stuck with social media, try to think about it like people really enjoy seeing the authenticity and like the struggle as well, because they like relatable content. And so just like, honestly, just, you don't have to pitch yourself as like I like, if the social media version is like a very curated version of you, maybe part of that process that you can share online is like your journey, and that's also something you could document with your social media.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And just to like expand on that a bit, I think if you do want to try social media, it's probably going to work best how it feels natural for you to engage with it, rather than forcing, what you think is supposed to be on it. Hopefully that helps. Let's do one more question, and I should probably call it here for the day.
Okay. Any catch your eye?
Yeah, it's got to be good to end on. Let's not talk about MIDI. These are, I'm seeing a lot of very specific questions, but I mean,
these are all the questions we have.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about the like structuring a track.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. So,
so
9 volt, how do you go about structuring a track? Do you, for example, map out the distribution of energy levels from the start? Cool. Structure is interesting because on the one hand, you can rely on the very great basic templates out there with, verses and choruses and bridges. And then at the same time, I feel like every song has its own unique needs. And I think even in the stuff that people would call formulaic, if you dissect it, there are often interesting things happening where like they just had to make the choice about a certain transition length or about when to repeat a section, or there's so much more detail than just like the bridge is going to be 8 bars and the chorus is going to be 16 bars and whatnot. So I do try and like give each song what I feel it needs, and it can come from different angles, because sometimes you have a really strong melody and you're like, okay, well, this is 8 bars. It fits. It's a section. And then you're like, what's the next section going to be? And you can kind of like, Lego it together with these different pieces. And then other times it feels almost like the structure emerges out of the choices that you try. And that was very much Crown, you know, like Crown was built from this like 8-minute recording of these synthesizer, you know, glitchy generative beats that I very slowly whittled away at and structured into something and restructured based on the other things that I was adding to it. And then I kind of found the overall flow and I honed in from there. So like first it's just a big long jam with barely any dynamics. Then it becomes a jam with a chord progression. So I'm like, okay, there are kind of sections here because here are when these chords happen and here are when the progression does something different. And then as I built on it, I gave it a bit of a shape of like at the beginning it will be high energy, in the middle it'll die down, it'll gradually build up, and at the end it will be the biggest. And that broad structure stayed right through to the end, but then within that I kept on having to make, you know, smaller and smaller choices as the writing progressed, because I was, you know, coming up with my specific melodies, and that would change what I wanted to do with the chords. And then within those, you know, big blocks of energy, there are smaller energy shifts where it's just a decision kind of like at each point in the writing process, where does it need to flow from here, you know? Does it need to go up or down? So yeah, there's a mixture of like mapping and just seeing what happens depending on the song. I would say though, eventually, if you're gonna like finish the song, you arrive at a place where you do make those definitions for the sections. You're like, we know that this has to be the climactic point. We know that after this, it's been high energy for a long time and it really feels natural to just go down to a simmer. And so eventually you kind of like lock that in, and from there you're refining even smaller things about dynamics like transitions and vocal delivery and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hope that gives you a solid picture. It's definitely... I love song structure. I love how much you can play with it. And it's the kind of thing where there are so many different approaches, but I would say it's pretty rare that you just show up and like have a map from the beginning and stick to it. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. Do you have anything to add before we...
Yes, before we wrap up, I've just been seeing the comments come up throughout the whole stream.
Oh, yeah.
But just to address it all at once, like, if you wanted to submit a track, those are for creator tier patrons.
Yes.
So you can find more information about that at patreon.com/Andrew Huang. If you want Andrew to listen to your song and give you feedback. When did he start streaming? We started doing open public streaming at the start of this year.
Yeah.
And so
we do about one a month.
Yes, one a month. And if you want to catch the next one or you came in late, we're going to be streaming again later at the end of the month.
Yeah. Usually it's last Tuesday of the month. This time we changed it up to just follow the release of Crown, which please go stream. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll check it out again. I think it bears a lot of repeat listening. There's so many fun details in there. But yeah, I think there was something else I wanted to add. Or maybe that was it. But yeah.
Also, you can find... If you want to engage more with the community, Andrew has a Discord server. Not everyone knows that yet, but you can find that in the links of descriptions of videos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say.
Yeah.
The stream. Yeah.
Thanks for joining, y'all. I mean, definitely keep sending in questions wherever I am online, and I'm always happy to tackle them, and I'm trying to do more of that through social media, and as well for Crown specifically, gonna make a deep dive video on it, I think. But yeah, thanks. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.